Hello. This week I'm going to be looking at getting my little French garage completed and ready for the table. And there's a couple of things really. I shall be keeping the sign that came with it because obviously, as you can tell, it's a 3D printed building. And it does come with a couple of petrol pumps, for the side of the building. And they're okay. They're a bit basic, but so I went to West Wind Productions and found this set, and they've got slightly more detailed petrol pumps, and they are, of the era, and they even come with a lamp stand to light up the area. So that's, a little bit more detail. And what I've been thinking is, initially I was thinking of mounting them together, but of course you can't because there's a little, whether you can see it, a groove that fits into that. So if I was to glue them in place, it'd be difficult getting this off all the time. So I'm going to keep them separate. But what I am going to do for these loose little bits is I'm going to create a little bit here, the same size, and mount whatever I decide to use, regarding the barrels and the petrol pumps, onto that. So then it'll just come in the three pieces. The other thing that I want to do, because it's just something that irritates me, is the way this one's printed. There's nothing to hold this in place, and every time you move it, it's doing that. So I'm going to try and make some arrangement that'll slot in and then hold it a bit in place. Nothing major. I don't mind if it moves a little bit. I just don't want it doing this all the time. So I'm going to have a go at doing that first. And then the major thing that I'll be doing next is actually doing the first bit of the painting job. So what I'm going to do now, I'll do this off camera because it's fairly boring to watch, is I'll cut myself a little board for this. So I've got all the parts that I need. And then I'll bring you back when we start the painting of the actual building. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to paint up in different tones these bricks that are showing through, and then I'll go round, do all of them, and I'm going to do the same thing on the second floor, and then the same thing on these bricks on the garage part. And when that's dry, then I can look at doing the the over colour. And on this I'll be using some sand in the normal mix with some glue. And then what I'll do for this one is I'll do a light brush over with probably something like this or a bit of a lighter colour, and that should let some of the different tones show through. But first of all I'm going to start with this one. So it's going to look a little bit odd. You've probably seen me do things like this before. But once you bring it together, it'll be fine. So I'm just basically picking out the individual bricks. I think this model has got a bit of an anomaly really, because look, that wall is flush with that, so it's obviously meant to be where it's showing through the plaster, but for some reason this is printed actually raised above it. But I'm just going to work with it. There's nothing I can do about that. It'll still have the same overall effect. It's obviously just a printing quirk, I think. Right, so that's gone round with one colour, and then basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to go round and round with different colours, and perhaps mix some white in to get some variance as well. And then I should do that to all the brickwork on the building itself and the garage, and I'll get that done now, and then I'll bring you back. Right, so now that I've gone round all of the parts in the different colours, all I'm going to do is just brush over it with this, it's a sand colour, but I've added a lot of white to make it pale. I'm just going over it, and then you can see it looks a lot less in your face, the different colours, because they've all blended. Like if you look at this one, for instance, I think that's probably the most noticeable one. You can see how it's all blended now. That's better. And then I also did it on the roof, but unfortunately when I primed this, I've caught the bricks with the blue colour, so I might need to do more than one coat over this to make it come back to the colours that I'm looking for. Right, I'll press on with this, and when it's done I'll bring you back for the next stage. Right, so the next stage is to put this coat on, which is the one that I mix with some sand, the colour, and then some glue as well, just to bond the sand. And I take that up to where the bricks are showing through. And just coat the building in it, and it just gives it that bit of texture. And if you're familiar with any of the other ones that I've been painting up for Normandy, you'll see that it's, as I've said, you know, many a time, same palette. Just don't go over the bricks, because we want them to show through as they are. Alright, so as you can see, let's just give it a base coat over the top, which obviously, you know, it's initially it covered all the bricks, but it's broke away on here. Right, so I'm going to let that dry, carry on painting the rest, and then I'll bring you back. Right, in between jobs I'm going to sort out this roof, and I'm just using some MDF cut-offs, you know, from my leftover bits. I just want to find the right place to put them to make sure the right side of the inside to hold it. So I'll just put a few marks on here just to help me keep it in place. when I glue it in. It's about the thickness of the MDF again, I think. So it's about there. Right, I'm just going to shape this a bit so it sits in it better when I'm gluing it. Right, so I've just cut it like that really, just to help it sit in it a bit better. Right, so the these little roof struts just hold the roof in place, stop it sliding off, are dry now, and then all I do is put it on like that. As you can see, it's not going to knock around so easy now. Quite simple really, but it just stops it moving, and that was irritating me. So what I'm going to do now, because I've been doing this really to give these walls a bit more time to dry, is I'm going to tidy up a little bit, and I'm going to switch to doing the internals. But what I'm going to do first is, you see all inside this roof space, and inside that part of the roof space I'm going to give it a coat with white, just to make it look a little bit fresher in there really, and because there's no point me trying to wallpaper inside that, there's not much point. I'll just paint it white, keep it light, and that'll be that bit done. And then on these I will be putting the wallpaper like I normally do, and some flooring as well. But while I've got the white out doing the inside of this, I'm also going to paint these white, the bottoms, just purely because it'll act as a ceiling part, and if ever I want to light it up inside for any reason, just having this white is going to bounce the light out more. So I shall do that part of it, and same on this one as well. So I'll get them painted white, and then I'll bring you back. So I haven't painted all the white internals and the roof, like I said. What I'm doing now, I've still got a bit of white down there, so I've mixed it with some of the colouring that I used to put the grit on the walls, and I'm going over it now to bring this orange, well, it's not orange, but a beige orange, down a level. Again, avoiding where the wall's coming through. So you can see that. If I bring that up against one that's not been done, look, you can see the difference. And that's going to give it a slightly different tone to some of the other ones that I've done. And I'm going to do that throughout really, you know, introducing white or a darker colour to it to keep all the buildings in the same palette. It's not exactly dry brushing, it's quite wet, but after the, you know, initially putting some on, I am dragging it around to spread it out. So I'm not leaving it too thick. And look at the difference between that wall and that wall. What's that one? Now do the sides of the roof. There we go. And I'm going to do the same to the actual garage. Right, so it's time really now to let them thoroughly dry, and the next thing that I'm going to turn my attention to is doing the papering that I said I was going to do on the inside of the building. That will give any you know, of the paint on the outside just that bit longer to dry while I'm doing the inside, and then after that we can jump onto the roof. And then it's going back in for more detailing after that. Right. I'll bring you back when we get to the next stage. Right, so the next thing I'm going to do is paint up the roof tiles on top of the garage part and the building. And then I can leave it to dry. And then I can start doing the wallpapering and everything tomorrow. So, as you've seen me use before, I've got some a colour here that I mixed myself that I'm going to use. It's just, in fact, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it on this, save me bothering getting anything else out at the minute. I've got this pot. Take that bit up and mix it in. There we go. Right. Oh, looking the pot. Obviously, like I say, there's going to be little bits to tidy up where it's splashed down onto the beige colour, but as before, I'll do that once I've got all of it down. Right, you don't want to sit here watching me do this, so I'll get the rest of the roof bits done, and then I'll perhaps tidy up some of these edges and everything, and then we'll come back when we get to the internal stage. Right, so the next thing I'm going to do is do this papering. I've already cut some paper to size, and as I did before, because it just makes it easier, I'm going to paste the wall and then bring the paper to it. So that's the first one. Not going to put paper on these window ones. You could do easily, just a matter of cutting the windows out, and I have done it before, but this time I'm just going to paint those walls. I mean, they already are white, so I'm probably going to just touch them up with a bit more white. So that's the second one done. Fairly quick process, and but it makes a difference. Upper floor. Since the last time I was doing buildings, I have now printed out a bit more because I was running low on wallpaper and flooring. So I've managed to do a few more since, and a few more posters and add-on bits that will be particularly useful for this garage that I've gathered. There we go. There we go. Right, so the next thing I'm going to do, I won't bring you along because you've seen me do it before. I'm just going to paint up these walls with another coat of white. But the other thing I will do is I'm going to do the outline of this on the inside as well for the door. Right, I'll bring you back in a minute. Right, so I've cut some floor pieces out to put in these. I'm going to use the wooden plank one for the lower floor because obviously that's going to be like where the office and that would be. And then I'll put a carpet in the top one. now that the other walls have been painted up white as well, that's looking a bit fresher. Right, onto this one. That's one thing I didn't measure, isn't it? Forgot the trapdoor. There we go. So that's the carpet. Right, so it's just a question of letting that dry. Yeah. Well, we're getting there. So now we can turn our attention to some of the detail work, you know, like the drain pipes and the doors and the lights. So I'll let that dry for a bit and then we'll come back and we'll look at some of them. So while I'm waiting for the buildings to dry, I thought I'd paint up some of the plastic extras like the petrol pumps. Well, they're metal actually, but the barrels, the doors and the signs, just so I can get the first colours on there and it can all be drying at once, and then I'll be able to crack on a bit more. There's a few details on it, like the pumps. Obviously I've got to paint the actual hose and everything yet, you know, but doing it like this I can at least get the first coats down and then allow a little bit of drying time, come back to it and do the finer details. I've gone with the blue colour for the gates to the garage, and I think I'm probably going to do that on the front door as well. I kind of figured blue in France might be a colour that they'd have hanging around to paint with. So that's why I've gone with it, and also it's got some racing connections, so it seemed to look the part for a motor vehicle garage type background. Right, I'm going to let that side dry before I come back to the others. I think the petrol pumps might be dry enough for me to start painting the hose next, so that's what I'll be cracking on with. So basically I'm going to finish these bits off and then probably paint up the front door as well, and then I'll let it dry and I'll bring you back later. Right, so I'm turning my attention to some of the smaller details, and I'm painting the doors, and I've also painted the pumps and the drums and the light fitting. As you can see, it looks, you know, pretty striking at the moment, but obviously it hasn't been weathered. But I think once it does, it'll fit in with the tone of the garage. So now I'm picking out the drain pipes and the light fittings by the doors. And I thought while I was at it, I might as well do the chimney pots as well. I'm just looking for a few bits, to dress up the petrol pot, that I'm putting on this platform. And I've come across some old Airfix kits, bits that I kept, or that I've picked up from different places where it's not a complete kit and it's just going for pence. And I did have a lot more tyres, but they seem to have all been used. But there was some wheels here with spokes, so what I've done is I've just ran the knife round it and took them out, and then I can paint these up black fairly easily. And I only want a few. I mean, that'll probably do actually. And I'll be able to use them, to dress that bit up a little bit. Right, I'll bring you back in a minute. So I thought I'd quickly turn back to the smaller items and get some of those finished off. So I've started painting in the white lettering on the two signs that I'm going to be sticking to the house. I thought if I could get them done, they can be drying before I get ready to put them on. Anyway, after the drying time, I started to glue those in place. I've started with the garage sign, and then I added the small Citroen sign that came with the kit. The next thing I thought I could get done is to cut out some of the posters and emblems and things that I'm going to stick to the garage. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is those stickers, the garage emblems and things that you've seen me cut out, I'm now going to stick those in place on the building, and then I've got these two tiny ones for the actual petrol pump. And I'm just going to seal that over with a bit of glue as well. So that's looking like that now. Again, I just want to paste that over with a bit of glue as well. Let's push it back into position. There we go. That's that. Right, now I've got to decide where I'm going to have them on here. Well, there's one, this large auto garage, I'm going to have so it can be seen from this side. I don't know whether to put it there or up there. I think up there probably. show you. That's going to make it stand proud of that. Let me bring the camera down a bit so you can see it. So it'll show over the top of that roof, is what I'm trying to aim for. Oh. Sorry about all the fiddling around with the camera. There we go. I think we'll do this one on here. Right, I'll let them dry, and then I can turn my attention to putting the little petrol pump area together. Right, let's come up with a plan for this. You can zoom in on that a little bit more for you. think. So it's got them tyres in there. Right, I'm going to let them few dry and then I'll come back and do the last few bits. So while I'm waiting for some of the stickers to dry, I thought I'd start putting on some of the weathering. And I bought a new one. Remember me saying how much I liked this Flory weathering grime. Well, I had a look at some of their others and they did this weathering wash dust. I've never used it before, but I thought I'd give it a go. I'm just going to apply it like I would a dry brush of white. When I first put it on, I didn't know whether I liked it, but it's once it dries out, it looks pretty good. Well, this one, obviously when you first put it on, it does look a little bit dramatic. Right, so as you can see, it's a little bit of trial and error with the wash work, but there's plenty of opportunity for, you know, changing it around and damping a bit off or pouring a little bit back. But overall, you end up with quite a good effect. And I didn't take as much time over this as I normally do, but I'm pretty pleased with the outcome anyway. Right, so that's it complete. I could have took a lot more time over the weathering, but at the end of the day, I've got quite a few of these buildings to do, and I just basically wanted to knock it down fairly quick and have it, you know, to a reasonable standard that I can live with on the battle table. And to me, this looks fine. Yeah, you can take a lot longer over the weathering and do a little bit more fine detail, but at the end of the day, I'm happy with how it looks. And it's the same with little things like this, really. You know, there's lots of other ways you could do it, but at the end of the day, that gives a reasonable representation of a garage, and it will look the part with the rest of the buildings. Anyway, if you have liked it, please consider giving me a thumbs up. Hopefully it's perhaps inspired you, you know, for some of the buildings that you're working on. And if you have liked it and you want to see more, you know, please consider subscribing and then clicking that bell so you'll get a notification when the next video drops. Anyway, I'll stop rambling and I'll see you soon. Bye.